SATs nationwide are officially all digital. What exactly does that mean? Joining us today to talk a little bit more about it, we have Assistant Principal from West Bloomfield High School, Dr. Stephanie Clark. How are you, Doctor?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Thank you so much. I'm doing great myself. I appreciate you joining us because I'm very curious about this. Back when I was coming out of high school, going to college, I had to take the ACT and SAT, and we had to go to a physical location with pen and paper. But now things are changing, all digital. How do you feel like this has changed the landscape or experience for students?
So I'll say similar to you, that's how I took the SAT and ACT. It was in the gym, it was paper pencil, everyone was in there, and you took the test. But now moving to the digital format, I think this is going to benefit students in school districts alike. Um, right now, with our district, we have one-to-one student technology. So our students are really familiar with working with the student Chromebooks, and they
Mhm.
use them every day. So that transition should not pose any difficulty. Also, College Board has what they call the digital readiness assessment. So this helps students get acclimated with the platform and the program that they'll be using. On my end, as the test coordinator for my building,
Mhm.
we used to get tons of boxes, like hundreds of boxes of
Mm.
materials, and we would have to sort those tests, group those tests per rooms, and it was a labor intensive effort. But now that we are able to do those tests online, it at least eliminates that part of the heavy lift for us for testing.
Okay, so as somebody that's considered from the old school of testing nowadays, I guess that's what it is. I got a lot of questions. So, how are we ensuring that they aren't cheating? I see that they can use their own device or go to a certain institute to actually take this test. How do we know that they're not cheating? They have internet access, right?
So, College Board has built in a lot of parameters to make sure that the students are not pulling up additional screens while they're testing or utilizing, information on their desk. Also, one thing that I should point out is that the proctor student coverage has not changed. So you'll still be in the room with another adult that is actively monitoring those computers. And if you were to, per se, go outside of the test day platform, it would get an alert, and then that test would likely be considered spoiled. So they have parameters built in to know what the students are doing while they're on their computer.
I hate that I sound so old with this and so rebellious, but it just seemed like it's just no possibility. Well, okay, so you say this makes it easier. I see that the electronic digital SAT is 1 hour shorter than
Mhm.
the standard test. So, I mean, are the questions easier? Are there fewer questions? What changes do you know have been made to the actual test?
So there are fewer questions, but it's the same areas that are being tested. Part of students' aversion, parents' aversion sometimes, and really teachers' aversion to standardized testing is obviously it's an interruption to the standard teaching day and the standard curriculum.
Hmm.
But also, students sometimes feel that they are getting fatigued by the volume of tests that they have to take, especially if you're an 11th grader. You're
Right.
taking the SAT, you're taking ACT work keys as well as MSTEP. So that's a pretty labor intensive testing schedule. So I think that making the test shorter makes that less fatiguing for the student and forces the test to focus on what are the most important essentials that students need to be tested on. So I think the shortened test schedule is good.
Okay. Okay. I mean, it would make sense that a shorter test will be a little bit easier for everyone, shorter time. Okay, I understand that. But in the sense of college admissions, like a lot of colleges, since the pandemic at least, have changed their standards. Some colleges don't even allow this. Are you seeing less enrollment for SAT and ACT test taking, or has it increased? Has it been moderate? What are your thoughts on that?
So there's this ideology that's going around that making tests optional is actually going to increase greater access for acceptance into colleges.
Hmm.
The goal with that is that a student might have excellent grades, excellent extracurriculars, but testing might not be their strong suit. And it having test score optional admissions allows the student to say, this is not the best assessment of my skills right now. So I'm not going to send that score in. I'm going to let the rest of my resume speak for me. So in that regard, it does provide more access because students that traditionally aren't good test takers are being admitted into universities that otherwise they might have been excluded from because of a low test score. There's actually an article in Education Week that stated that about 60% of students have not shared scores with colleges.
Mm.
So that hasn't hurt their chance of acceptance. So this might be a new way.
Yeah, yeah, that is interesting. I went to Eastern Michigan and had to share mine. I didn't have a super proud ACT or SAT score, but nonetheless, I got accepted and it got me to where I wanted. So I think just whatever gets me probably at the minimum level at anything, whatever gets me to the next level is probably what they're gonna do, and they probably will do, not too much more than that. But join us, we have Dr. Stephanie Clark, assistant principal for the West Bloomfield High School, talking about the new SATs nationwide going to an all digital format. Now, we know that students nowadays in the month of March and April are taking the SATs and ACTs to get into colleges. Have you all started that process, and have you started a digital? What's your process to it? And if you haven't, what is going to be your process going into it?
So we happily would signed up for the digital testing experience. Like I said earlier, moving to digital take a lot of the load off as far as organizing the test and getting those boxes and shipping them back and packing them accurately. Like it eliminates that for us. One of the things that our district is already light years ahead is we have one-to-one technology for our students already. So at the beginning of this school year, when we knew for a fact that we were moving to the digital platform,
Mm-hmm.
we reached out to the technology department to make sure that all of the student Chromebooks had the College Board test day application on there. We made sure that our district infrastructure could handle the volume of students that would be online at one time. And they actually require at College Board that we have someone called a technology coordinator,
Mm-hmm.
and they provide them training. We actually have two technology coordinators that
Okay.
have taken the training just in case on one day that technology coordinator is unavailable or life happens. So we have actually been preparing for this since the beginning of the school year and have finished all of our training and are ready to go. And like I said, they provide a digital readiness assessment for the students, and our students will be taking those assessments in their advisory classes during the month of March so that they are ready to go without issue or incident on the test day.
Great to hear. Yeah, and it seems like you are crossing your T's, dotting your I's when it comes to that. You said two technical or technicians that'll be there on hand. When you're dealing with technology and the internet, it's best to have at least two people as a backup. So I completely understand that. Now we can go back and forth about our thoughts on it. But what about the current students' thoughts and their reactions to this news? Have you had any words from the actual current students? And what about students who've graduated? Have you heard anything about them? Do they feel like this is a stab in the back? Like they were treated a little bit different? Any word from the students?
So I haven't heard from our students that have graduated already. And our current students, they're on technology every day. So
Mm-hmm.
this hasn't disrupted anything for them. They're like, what's one more online thing that we do? I think ultimately, you have students that love standardized testing and they would be fine taking this test pencil paper or online. And you have other students that, it's a test. So whether it was paper, pencil, or online, it wouldn't be their preference. But I think that the majority of the students, since they were born into this society where technology was readily available, this doesn't shake them up. This is just more par for the course.
It would make sense that they would just get right along with it. It's another thing, like you said, on their phones or on their tablets, computers. Oh,
Correct.
it's cool. It's more screen time, essentially. So I get it.
Right.
Any last words, parting words, important information for the Greater West Bloomfield community before we part, Dr. Clark?
I would just say that the first time utilizing anything, you always have to expect room for error. So this is College Board's first time rolling out this digital option. This is our first time utilizing this digital option. Although College Board has prepared us and although we have prepared as a district, we always leave room that there might be some opportunities for growth for the next year.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just say be patient with us and join us for the ride. We're looking forward to spring testing.
There it is. Thank you so much. Talking about the all digital ACT, SAT going around nationwide. We have Dr. Stephanie Clark, assistant principal from Greater West Bloomfield High School. Excuse me. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Yes.